Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, one of my favorite off-season episodes to do every single year. And we're starting it off with one of my favorite teams rolling into 2025, top 10 players for this Clemson football program rolling into the 2025 year. Let's start with this. If you are on the fence about how good you think Clemson can be in the 2025 year, just stick around and listen for the next 15 minutes. I mean, it just starts with the amount of players that I was forced to leave off the list that I think are dang good football players. You know, talking about DeMonte Capart, talking about Will Held coming over from Purdue, Wade Woodaz, I think might be one of the best backers in the ACC, didn't even crack the top 10. The amount of not only depth that this football team has, but also the top 10 talent. I mean, you start getting into the top 5 players on this football team, you're talking about some of the best players across the country playing for this Clemson football team. Really talented, really deep. This is the perfect episode to really clearly lay out how dangerous this football team is rolling into 2025. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, the Clemson fans, the best part about doing this episode is hearing from you guys in the comment section. You could poll 100 different Clemson fans. They'll probably give you a different top 10 list for every single one of them. Let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And as we roll into the fall, this is going to be a football team that we talk a lot about. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, again, the players that I had to leave off the list, I mean, some of them are just dang good football players. Like Wade Woodaz in 2024, about as solid as they come. I thought Stephylan Green, sneaky, very, very good contributor for Clemson in 2024. I expect him to take a step in 2025. You also have some newcomers that you probably can't put in the top 10, but if you told me a Tristan Smith or a freshman Amari Adams were top 10 players for Clemson in 2025, I wouldn't be all that surprised, especially a guy like Tristan Smith, who it sounds like is just going to need to get on the football field in the 2025 year. That's how good of a spring that he had for Clemson. Without further ado, let's get into the top 10. I'm going to start with a little bit of a my guy here, Ashton Hampton. I thought he was phenomenal as a freshman, as I dove back into some of the film last year, looked at some of the numbers. Yeah, this kid started the last 5 football games of the season really, really dang solid. You know, 6'2", 200 pounds. He looks like a cornerback that you would put in a laboratory. Now, the thing that stands out to me the most, a 51% completion percentage when he was targeted in coverage, only 2 penalties. I mean, you look at Avieon Terrell, who we have a little bit higher on the list. Avieon Terrell, dang good cornerback as well, got caught with some penalties at times. Ashton Hampton, for being a true freshman, the composure he showed when the football was in the air, very, very impressive. Now, you want to see him clean up the open field tackle, an 18.9% missed tackle rate, little bit higher than you would like to see. That is kind of natural for a freshman jumping from the high school to collegiate ranks. If this kid even takes a small step from what he was as a freshman to a sophomore, he's going to be a top 10 player on this Clemson football team. Really dynamic cornerback duo between Ashton Hampton and Avieon Terrell. Going to number 9, let's go Blake Miller. Man, as solid as it comes. The fact that Blake Miller's coming in at number 9 should tell you something. This dude has been a stalwart on the Clemson offensive line for multiple years, had the opportunity to go to the NFL draft, decided to come back for one more year. This is really at least in my opinion, the biggest question about Clemson rolling into 2025 is, look, I know that Clemson's going to have a solid offensive line. Can it be an elite offensive line in 2025? That's probably the question you're going to want to see get answered. When Clemson got into trouble, they couldn't run the football whenever they wanted. You know, you think about that Texas game, and I know there were some running back injuries. You think about the Georgia game week 1. When they play the best football teams in the country, can your offensive line be a weapon? Can they get the run game going against some of the best defenses in the country? When you talk about winning national championships, that's something you want to see from Clemson in the 2025 year. Blake Miller, 2,800 career snaps going into year 4 of his career. I mean, he stepped on the field the moment he got to Clemson. Has just been damn solid. 1 sack allowed. And that's the other thing I'll say. His availability has been his best asset, and that's not too common when you're talking about offensive linemen, the ability to stay healthy. Blake Miller just been a reliable. So many programs have question marks at the tackle position. Clemson doesn't really have that rolling into 2025. Number 8 on the list, and this is when it starts getting like, how in the world is Avieon Terrell coming in at number 8? He's one of the best cornerbacks in the country. Avieon Terrell might be a top 50 NFL draft pick. Very, very good year. And I should probably say very solid year in 2024. Maybe the step that he took in 2024 was maybe not as big as some Clemson fans would have liked to seen. I think that game against Texas, where he racked up 3 penalties in a really, really big stage, I think kind of alters the way we probably should be seeing him. And what I mean by that is, look, he had a bad game against Texas. That does not mean Avieon Terrell's a bad football player. I mean, 58 tackles, 12 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, 68 targets on the year, only a 51% completion percentage. If Avieon Terrell just cleans up the penalties, you're looking at one of the best cornerbacks in the country rolling into 2025. Number 7 on the list. This is my guy. And I think a lot of Clemson fans will probably look at this and say, in what world do you have Sammy Brown over Avieon Terrell? There is some projection that's going on. But from what I saw from this kid, especially in the back half of the year, as a true freshman, you could be looking at Sammy Brown being one of the best linebackers in the country in 2025. And quite frankly, we have him at 7 right now. If you told me Sammy Brown was a top 5 player on this Clemson roster, I wouldn't be surprised. 80 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, only a 10.8% missed tackle rate. Extraordinary numbers for a true freshman. The thing that I love about Sammy Brown is he's a difference maker at the linebacker position. There's a lot of good linebackers, linebackers that go for 80 plus tackles, 15% missed tackle rate, do what they're supposed to do. There's very few linebackers that put a fingerprint on a football game. 12 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks, didn't play a ton of football until the back half of the season for Clemson. This kid, I think, is going to be a difference maker for Clemson, especially with the Tom Allen defense. Tom Allen's going to ask his playmakers to go make plays, and we're going to be really aggressive with our second-level defenders. Perfect fit for what Sammy Brown likes to do. This kid loves to attack downhill. He loves to get after the passer. I think that is a really dynamite fit. Tom Allen, Sammy Brown. Tom Allen's going to look to use Sammy Brown in a lot of really unique ways. Well, here's the good thing. Sammy Brown is very capable of being that kind of football player for Tom Allen in the front 7. 24 run stops, second on the team. There are a lot of really good football players in the front 7 for Clemson. Sammy Brown, as a true freshman, second most run stops on the team. Towards the end of the season, against SMU and Texas, this kid didn't come off the football field. Like, emerged as one of the best players on that Clemson defense, massively high on what Sammy Brown can be in the 2025 year. Number 6 on the list, TJ Moore. Again, a guy that was phenomenal as a freshman. You saw the unique impact that TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco had on this offense. The minute these guys started being a centerpiece of this Clemson offense was the minute you saw this Clemson offense go in the right direction. Now, here's what I love about TJ Moore. One, he ended the season on a very high note against a very good Texas secondary. 9 catches, $116 and a touchdown against some really good Texas cornerbacks. A 63.4% completion percentage when targeted. Really well-rounded. That's what stands out to me about TJ Moore. Now, I have Bryant Wesco a hair ahead of TJ Moore, and we'll get into that. What I love most about TJ Moore, you can ask this kid to do anything you want. You want him to work the short intermediate route trees. He can do that and create separation. You want him to work vertically down the field. He's a guy that can thrive in some of those contested catch situations. You want him to work the middle of the field. He can do that because he's got a big catch radius and a really, really physical wide receiver. Big fan of TJ Moore, number 5, Bryant Wesco. Why? Now, look, if you want to put TJ Moore over Bryant Wesco, that's what my brother would have done. I ain't going to argue. Like, TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco is just like, well, what do you value? The reason I'm going Bryant Wesco number 5, 17.5 yards per catch. I mean, this is a guy that going into the 2024 year, we were pleading for Clemson to have a little bit more verticality in the passing attack. It was a disaster in 2023. It got a lot better in 2024, and it was largely because of Bryant Wesco. Now, there are some things you want to see him improve. You know, a 55% completion percentage when targeted is a little bit low for a player that I have as a top 5 player on this Clemson roster. If that number can go up, but you maintain the explosiveness and the verticality that he gives this Clemson offense, you're looking at a really dang good wide receiver. He's only going to get better as he gets a little bit more weight on the frame and becomes a little bit more of a physically imposing wide receiver. Like this kid did not look like a college football player during a freshman or during his freshman year. You know, it was a pretty lean kid that needed to continue to fill out. As you get that more from him in the 2025 year, I think he gets better as a football player. Also really good after the catch, 298 yards after the catch, a guy that can win vertically, but also can be legitimately dynamic with the football in his hands. Number 4 on the list, and a guy that I feel like we all be sleeping on because you have a new face in Tristan Smith. You have 2 really talented young cats in Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore. We just sleep on Antonio Williams. 100 targets for Antonio Williams last year. He is very clearly the guy that Cade is most comfortable going to. 75% completion percentage when targeted, the highest on that Clemson football team. 14 missed tackles forced, 350 yards after the catch. He's also a guy that with 11 contested catches, that's not necessarily the best part about his game, but he can go up and make plays. And he's versatile. You can put him in the slot. You can put him on the boundary. Having a versatile chess piece like Antonio Williams, especially when you have so many other good wide receivers on this roster, it's crucial. And if you're going to ask me, hey, who do you think leads Clemson in receiving yards? Who do you think leads Clemson in targets and in catches? My pick's going to be Antonio Williams, and it's going to be that every single day of the week. Number 3, we're getting into the heavy hitters now, Cade Klubnik. And you could make the argument is he the best quarterback in the country rolling in 2025? I wouldn't necessarily push back against that, especially if he takes another step that he is similar to what he took in 2024. Now, do I think the step's going to be as big? No, there's not as much room to take that step. He wasn't great in 2023. He was awesome in 2024. If he gets even a little bit better in 2025, you're looking at Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback and one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the country. The thing that I appreciate most about Cade is that, I guess, number 1, that touchdown to interception ratio is elite. You know, Cade Klubnik's a guy that knows he has a very, very talented arm, and he is not afraid to make a lot of big time throws, but marrying that, hey, I'm going to be a difference maker and I'm going to put the football into some small windows, but also only throw 6 interceptions. That's really, really dang good. He's also a threat to run the football, 460 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. That's one of the things that I think he got the most better at. And I think that's probably not the best way. What was some of his best improvements that you saw from him in 2024? It was how and when to use my legs most effectively. We all know he's a really good athlete. Go back to 2023. He just wasn't really sure how he wanted to be an athlete in 2024, whether it was getting outside the pocket just to extend plays and throw off platform outside the pocket. He could do that. But when it was time to tuck the football down and go be a difference maker with the ball in his hands, think about that pick quarterback draw. He can do that too. You can get this kid involved and ask him to do just about anything at the quarterback spot. 63.4% completion percentage is not extraordinarily high. His average depth of target was 9.4 yards down the field. So he's never going to have a 70% completion percentage. 45% completion percentage, 20 plus yards down the field. Very, very impressive number. I am a monster Cade Klubnik fan going into 2025. Number 2, and I'm going to go Peter Woods here. Look, what you're looking for Peter Woods, and any Clemson fan, you look at the numbers, 9 TFLs, 3 sacks. Oh, how can you put him as the number 2 player? The Clemson fans who watch Clemson every single Saturday, you know the impact that Peter Woods has on this defense. with Tom Allen coming in, probably going to ask Peter Woods to be a little bit more of a penetrator and pass rusher as opposed to doing the dirty work that he did last year. I think the production is going to go up. He's a guy that you can't quantify the impact that he has on the game by reading the box score when he is healthy and when he's being used optimally, which was also not a thing. I mean, he was not healthy last year. But number two, I wasn't really sure how they wanted to use him. They started out using him as an edge rusher. And I figured, I just keep putting him at his best spot, let him be successful. When he's healthy and playing in his ideal spot, there's not any better interior defensive lineman in the country. Number one on the list, TJ Parker. And again, I think Clemson has an opportunity to have three guys go top 10 in the NFL draft. And so not only are they a very, very deep football team, like we're leaving off players like Wade Woodaz on the list, like number 10 through 20 are all really good football players. Well, they also have access to elite talent too. TJ Parker, Peter Woods kind of headlining it. TJ Parker, 20 TFLs, 11 sacks, 19. Here's the thing with TJ Parker, 19 run stops. TJ Parker, 28 quarterback hurries, 15% pass rush win rate, all really good numbers. His ability to support the run, that is not something that you get from all these elite edge rushers. There's a lot of good pass rushers in college football. There's not a ton of those good pass rushers that are also very present in the run game. TJ Parker is, and that's a massive storyline for Clemson. I mean, one of the things that really got this defense into trouble last year was just not playing the run well. TJ Parker on one side, Will Hell on the other, two of the better run-stopping edge defenders in the country. That's going to help Clemson. And look, you want to get that sack number up a little bit more, starts with stopping the run. You stop the run on first and second down, force these offenses to be in these third and long positions where they need to drop back and throw the football. And TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Will Hell pinning their ears back with Tom Allen dialing up the blitzes. Man, that's the recipe for this Clemson football team in 2025 on defense. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that Avieon Terrell came in at number 8. And that might be low, and there might be some Clemson fans that disagree with that. That's just highlighting how good this football team is and how much talent is on this roster. Very talented team, very deep team, and a very experienced football team as well. A lot of these guys have played a lot of football together over the last couple of years, which makes you feel even better about Clemson in 2025 because there's not a ton of programs that can say that. There's a lot of teams that have good rosters. There's not a lot of teams that have had players playing together for the last 3 years. Clemson has that. One of the things that I think separates them. We'll sign out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.